I hate the fact that I'm not going to be able to talk about this without bringing the feminist in me, because it's kind of related. So in my country specifically, and I know it's also like that in many other countries, colorism only applies to women for some reason, because the perfect men for most of us is tall, dark, and handsome, right? So if a man is dark, they're desirable.
Shout out to light-skinned guys.
But I love that you say that, because light-skinned guys, even on Twitter, on Zim Twitter, or let me just say Southern African Twitter, because you see it on Zambian Twitter, you'd see it on South African Twitter, you'll see it sometimes on Kenyan Twitter, but yeah, so there's always jokes around light-skinned men and them being feminine and them being basically women. And it's not being said in a good way. It's being said, oh, if you date a light-skinned man, you're going to be competing for skincare products. You're going to be, you know? Wow. It's always them kind of jokes. So basically to say you don't want to date a light-skinned man because a light-skinned man is going to be asking you to pay for the bill. A light-skinned man will be also buying Fenty while you're looking for Fenty, you know, them kind of jokes. And it's derogatory, I get it. Yeah. But in that same breath, a dark-skinned man is desirable, but a dark-skinned woman is not desirable. A light-skinned man is blah, but a light-skinned woman is it. So I get confused. Yeah. I get so confused.
But to be honest, it doesn't affect their lives and livelihood. That's the thing.
Part.
The way it affects dark-skinned women. So light-skinned men aren't affected in the way, yes, maybe off the bat, people aren't initially checking for them. But also, we all grew up crushing on Bow Wow and Chris Brown. Literally. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not there's no hate towards it. Whereas for dark-skinned women, it actually does affect your livelihood. Like when you think of the movie industry, so think of Nollywood. Like Nollywood has improved a lot, but I just remember growing up and there was always the light-skinned, very soft, beautiful person, successful woman that was in distress, and the dark-skinned, evil stepmother or evil sister or evil wife, and that was never portrayed with a light-skinned woman. It was always, and you know, when you think of video vixens, it's always very light-skinned, almost racially ambiguous, you know, girls that got those roles, whereas the darker skinned ones, I mean, these days, right, because a lot of conversation is happening, some things are changing, but still, again, I think that's the difference is with light-skinned men, I don't see that it's affecting their livelihood the way it affects darker skinned women.
Because it just starts and ends as jokes. Yeah. But for dark-skinned women, it's literal insults. You'll be calling names. There are names for dark-skinned women. Yeah. But light-skinned men, it's just that emoji, you know, not emoji, meme. When someone posts their light-skinned picture and they're a man, you see people commenting that meme with a hand like this to just basically insinuate that they're gay, which is not wrong if they are. So it's not an insult at the end of the day. It's just jokes. But for dark-skinned women, it's not just jokes. They are insulted.
It's not.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Me growing up, and I think you guys already know, I didn't grow up in my country, but I kind of knew the narrative or how people perceived the darker-skinned people. And it was always that the lighter-skinned people somehow felt like they were better than the darker-skinned people. Why? I don't know. We do know part of it relates to the whole them feeling like they look more like the Arabs. And I think this is also a very complex conversation. I don't want to get into too much detail about it right now. But yeah, at some point in time, you know, women also kind of believed that they wouldn't get married, you know, if they weren't light
Absolutely,
skin.
yeah.
And that's where, you know, the issue of skin lightening creams and all of that, which I feel like the younger generation now is kind of more aware and doesn't do those things as much as they were done before. But growing up when I was younger, I saw, like, you know, my aunts and their neighbors just using these creams. Like, it was the most common thing. And if you're not using them, like, how are you staying like that shade? You know, you need to be lighter to be beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. I mean, looking back, I feel sorry that people felt that way, but I'm also glad that I'm in a place where I have the awareness, and I'm grateful that this is not part of, you know, like me growing up. Like, I don't do that, you know, and the young people that are my age, they also, a lot of them don't do this anymore. So we have the awareness.